I had never before thought of myself as a creative person. I was an athlete, my body was a machine. But now, I was about to embark on the most creative project that any of us could ever do, that of rebuilding a life. And even though I had absolutely no idea what I was going to do, in that uncertainty came a sense of freedom. I was no longer tied to a set path. I was free to explore life's infinite possibilities. And that realization was about to change my life. Sitting at home in my wheelchair and my plaster body cast, an aeroplane flew overhead. And I looked up and I thought to myself, that's it! If I can't walk, then I might as well fly. I said, Mum, I'm going to learn how to fly. She said, that's nice, dear. I said, pass me the yellow pages. She's passed me the phone book. I rang up the flying school. I made a booking. Said, I'd like to make a booking to come out for a flight. They said, when do you want to come out? I said, well, I have to get a friend to drive me out because I can't drive. Sort of can't walk either. Is that a problem? I made a booking, and weeks later, my friend Chris and my mum drove me out to the airport, all 80 pounds of me covered in a plaster body cast in a baggy pair of overalls. I can tell you, I did not look like the ideal candidate to get a pilot's license. I'm holding onto the counter because I can't stand. I said, hi, I'm here for a flying lesson. And they took one look and ran out the back to draw short straws. You get her. No, you take her. Finally, this guy comes out. He goes, hi, I'm Andrew, and I'm going to take you flying. I go, great. So they drive me down. They get me out on the tarmac, and there was this red, white, and blue aeroplane. It was beautiful. They lifted me into the cockpit. They had to slide me up on the wing, put me in the cockpit. They sat me down. There are buttons and dials everywhere. I'm going, wow, how do you ever know what all these buttons and dials do? Andrew, the instructor, got in the front, started the aeroplane up. He said, would you like to have a go at taxiing? That's when you use your feet to control the rudder pedals, to control the aeroplane on the ground. I said, no, I can't use my legs. He went, oh. I said, but I can use my hands. And he said, okay. So he got over to the runway and he applied the power. And as we took off down the runway and the wheels lifted up off the tarmac and we became airborne, I had the most incredible sense of freedom. And Andrew said to me, as we got over the training area, you see that mountain over there? And I said, yeah. And he said, well, you take the controls and you fly towards that mountain. And as I looked up, I realised that he was pointing towards the Blue Mountains, where the journey had begun. And I took the controls, and I was flying. And I was a long, long way from that spinal ward, and I knew right then that I was going to be a pilot. Didn't know how on earth I'd ever pass a medical, but I'd worry about that later, because right now I had a dream. So I went home, I got a training diary out, and I had a plan. And I practiced my walking as much as I could. And I went from the point of like 2 people holding me up to 1 person holding me up, to the point where I could walk around the furniture, as long as it wasn't too far apart. And then I made great progression to the point where I could walk around the house, holding onto the walls like this. And Mum said she was forever following me, wiping off my fingerprints. But at least she always knew where I was. So while the doctors continued to operate and put my body back together again, I went on with my theory study. And then eventually, and amazingly, I passed my pilot's medical, and that was my green light to fly. And I spent every moment I could out at that flying school, way out of my comfort zone. All these young guys that wanted to be Qantas pilots, and little old hop-along me, in first my plaster cast, and then my steel brace, my baggy overalls, my bag of medication and catheters, and my limp. And they used to look at me and think, oh, who is she kidding? She's never going to be able to do this. And sometimes I thought that too. But that didn't matter, because now there was something inside that burned that far outweighed my injuries. And little goals kept me going along the way. And eventually I got my private pilot's license. And then I learned to navigate. And I flew my friends around Australia. And then I learned to fly an aeroplane with 2 engines. And I got my twin engine rating. And then I learned to fly in bad weather as well as fine weather and got my instrument rating. And then I got my commercial pilot's license. And then I got my instructor rating. And then I found myself back at that same school where I'd gone for that very first flight, teaching other people how to fly. Just under 18 months after I'd left the spinal ward. And then I thought, why stop there? Why not learn to fly upside down? And I did. And I learned to fly upside down and became an aerobatics flying instructor. And Mum and Dad, never been up. But then I knew for certain that although my body might be limited, it was my spirit that was unstoppable. The philosopher Lao Tzu once said, when you let go of what you are, you become what you might be. I now know that it wasn't until I let go of who I thought I was that I was able to create a completely new life. It wasn't until I let go of the life I thought I should have that I was able to embrace the life that was waiting for me. I now know that my real strength never came from my body. And although my physical capabilities have changed dramatically, who I am is unchanged. The pilot light inside of me was still a light, just as it is in each and every one of us. I know that I'm not my body, and I also know that you're not yours. And then it no longer matters what you look like, where you come from, or what you do for a living. All that matters is that we continue to fan the flame of humanity by living our lives as the ultimate creative expression of who we really are. Because we are all connected by millions and millions of straws. And it's time to join those up and to hang on. And if we are to move towards our collective bliss, it's time we shed our focus on the physical and instead embrace the virtues of the heart. So raise your straws if you'll join me. Thank you. Thank you.